What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Jackal Gold Games. And in this video, I'm going to be doing my first impressions for Silent Hill 4 The Room. So I started playing Silent Hill 4 The Room today, playing it via emulation. And I'm going to tell you what I think of the game so far after playing some of it. And this will probably be one of the first negative, mixed kind of first impressions videos. Because this game, so far from what I've played, this is easily the worst one in the series, in my opinion. And, I haven't played the other ones after this, like Homecoming or Downpour. And I've heard things about Downpour, but I hope those games are at least like better than this one, or at least 5% better. You see, the Silent Hill series so far, I've liked most of the games. I've enjoyed two. I would say, really thinking about it, even though I was praising three a lot, two is my favorite one out of all the ones I played. I liked three. I liked one. I even liked Origins. It has some problems, but Origins still pretty solid. So, series was going strong with like four good games. But this game right here, Silent Hill 4: The Room, this is the first one where I really am, feeling like this is just more of a miss than a hit. And this is the problem with game franchises, is that the more they go on and the longer they have more games, it's hard for them, it seems like, to keep the momentum going and to keep having lightning in the bottle and to keep things going. This is why Resident Evil, I think, saved itself with Resident Evil 4. Because Code Veronica and Resident Evil 0 were more like the old games, but Resident Evil 4 reinvented the series, and it saved it because those two games, while they're more traditional for a lot of people that like that old stuff, they didn't sell that well and they weren't liked that much. And I feel like Silent Hill, playing this fourth game after seeing where the series was with 1, 2, and 3, even though Word just came after this, but I was playing it by story. I think Konami didn't really know what to do with this one, and it's just playing this game. I'm going to talk about the positives of Silent Hill 4: The Room. I'll talk about the negatives because I would say there's definitely, I don't know. There's probably going to be more negatives than positives because this is going to be mixed and negative, honestly, because that's how I'm feeling about Silent Hill 4: The Room so far. This is definitely my least favorite one by far. Talk about the positives. I think the health bar addition is pretty cool. I do like that. I think it's nice to have a health bar in the corner. I like the main character's design. He has a cool outfit. That's nice. The gameplay is really fun. I enjoy the gameplay. You have your melee weapons. Like you have a pipe. You have some weapons you can pick up that are temporarily usable, like a golf club, which is a pretty cool weapon. There was a wine bottle at one point, and you have a gun you can use, and you have healing items. But I don't really see a need for a healing item because in this game, there's an apartment system. There's an apartment system in this game, which we'll get to, and every time you go back to your apartment, the room, your health regenerates. So to me, I see no reason to ever use a healing item in this game because if I can just go back to my room and heal, then why would I use a healing item? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like do they really think this over? This could be exploited so easily. So I haven't really used a lot of healing items besides I think maybe once. I don't know. Some of the voice acting is good, but some of it not so much, which we'll get to in the negatives. Some of the music in the game is pretty cool. I like the second area you're in, not so much the first area, which we'll get to. The second area is pretty cool. It's the orphanage area, and I do like that area. I like the woods and the outside and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. The forests. I like that area. Some of the enemies are pretty cool. I like the dogs you fight. They almost seem like dragon dogs because they have a tongue like a lizard dragon. Then they make this noise that sounds like a cougar or a tiger or some kind of animal I can't quite pinpoint. Then there's like these flying bugs or birds you face. So, and then you have these other enemies, which I'll get to that for the negatives because I have a lot to say about those ones. Oh my man, that's one of the reasons this game is really giving me a lot of problems. Why this is just a big step down compared to the other Silent Hill games I played. Graphic style, visually, this game looks really good. Even for its time, playing an emulator does help, but the visual style is really nice. It's got a little bit more of a cel shaded style, but I like the graphic style. It's pretty cool. I do like the item box system. It's kind of Resident Evil like, where you go back to your apartment. The apartment's kind of like the hub area. You go through these holes. Honestly, the game should have been called Silent Hill 4: The Hole rather than The Room. I mean, I know the game's premise is kind of in this room, but I feel like you're going in a lot of holes in this game. So I feel like they should have called it The Hole, but I guess The Room makes sense as well. But this apartment area is like your hub area. You go back to and you put items in the item box. I like that system. I like the item box system. It changes things up. The apartment building changes things up for the series, and the life bar changes things up for the series. What are some other positives I can list out? It's a little bit more over the shoulder than the other ones, though I do have some issues with the camera angles, which I'll also get to that as well. But that's really all I can think of when it comes to the positives. Now let's talk about the negatives, and this will lead into why this is going to be more of a negative, mixed first impressions, and why this game for me just isn't hitting like the other ones. First thing I want to talk about that I think is fucking stupid with this game, and to me, it is the worst thing about this game. There's unkillable enemies in here. These floating zombies. They look like floating fucking zombies to me. But I researched shit online because at first when I ran into these enemies, I'm like, oh, these are like floating zombies or zombies in the game. Cool. I beat them up with the pipe. Took a long time. I kicked them. They got back up. And I shot one of them with a gun. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And I did some research. I was thinking, are these unkillable enemies? And apparently they are. They put unkillable enemies in this fucking game. And it's not like Resident Evil 2 Remake or Resident Evil 3 Remake or maybe Resident Evil 7 where, you have like one enemy chasing you and it can be scary. No, this is annoying. All right. Apparently these are ghosts, but they seem more like zombies to me. So these flying ghosts, they cannot be killed. They are unkillable enemies and they're fucking annoying. It is easily the worst thing about this game, in my opinion. It's trash. I fucking hate it. It's a stupid ass mechanic because this game is combat focused. All right, this isn't Outlast. This isn't a game where you run around and don't do shit. This is a combat heavy game. You're fighting enemies. There should not be this amount of unkillable enemies in a game. Fuck these ghost enemies. They're not scary to me. They're just annoying. Especially the subway area. It was pissing me off because I was going through the subway area trying to explore it, and then there's a little section where you're with this female character following you, and you can't kill these fuckers. So they're all around the subway area following you around, making some weird ass noise, and you can't kill them. So you have to just hope you don't die from them and hope they don't damage you. And they get in the way of me wanting to explore the area and pick up items. It's aggravating. I hate the fact that they put these kind of enemies in the game. It serves no purpose other than be infuriating. And this is where I feel like Silent Hill, I've heard a lot of people say Silent Hill 4 wasn't as good as the others. And this is where a lot of people say the series kind of went in a bad direction. And I can definitely see why after starting to play some of this myself. I just feel like they're starting to introduce dumb shit in the series that they don't need to introduce. I know with sequels, they want to do different things and they want to try to reinvent the wheel, but this is not a good way to do it. Silent Hill Origins, I felt like was kind of guilty of that a little bit with making it to where you run out of stamina when you run, which I think was stupid. But I would rather kind of put up with that than this bullshit. Because at least in that game, you could wear the one outfit to have infinite running, and at least you could drink the energy drinks, even though it's still stupid. But Origins, I would say, even with those problems, Origins is way better than this game. At least Origins, I could say, was better than Silent Hill 4. And I haven't even beaten Silent Hill 4 yet, and I already feel like, yeah, at least Origins was better than this one. But I just think the series adding stupid shit like this is dumb. So that is one of the negatives. Biggest problem easily for me. Some other issues with the game. Why is the apartment complex that you go back to, your hub area, why is that in first person? I don't even understand it. It just feels sluggish and I don't know why. It's like why do you have half the game in first person but then most of the game is over the shoulder? I don't understand it. It's like why is this apartment area you're in, your hub area, why do they make it first person but most of the game's not even that? It's like just make that part over the shoulder. I don't understand it. It just don't make any sense to me. So that's stupid. But the apartment hub area is a cool idea, but one of the things that's annoying about it is a lot of times when you have to go back to it and go through the whole, you have to constantly re-examine and recheck everything in the room, the text, the fucking windows, every time you go through there. And sometimes you have to go through the hole multiple times. So it's like it's kind of a pain in the ass, honestly. It kind of slows the game down a bit. So that's another negative. Some other issues with the game. And the story of the game to me just really isn't that interesting so far. The story so far is basically you're this guy, Walter Sullivan, you wake up in a room and you're basically stuck in this room and you can't get out of it, but you also go out of the room through this hole and go to these different areas, so referred to as a nightmare oftentimes. And some of the characters we've met through the story, the story just isn't really that interesting to me so far, and it's not really a compelling story in my opinion. The story seems pretty weak so far. I don't really give a shit about the story so far. It's like you're playing as this main character, which we'll also get into the characters now. You're playing as this main character named Walter Sullivan, who was talked about in Silent Hill 2. This character, to me, is easily the worst main character in Silent Hill so far. I mean, I don't really give a shit about this guy. I mean, you don't really know much about him. They hint at the orphanage thing, and you know some of the stuff, I guess, if you play Silent Hill 2, but this is not really that interesting of a main character, in my opinion. Like, the voice actor for him sucks. It sucks badly. It's not good voice acting. His voice sucks. Whoever voiced the main character did not do a good job. I could do a better job voicing this main character. I'm not even a fucking voice actor. So, Walter's voice sucks. Not an interesting character, easily the worst one so far in the franchise. And plus, he's an asshole because there's a part in the fucking game, which, by the way, I played up until the end of the orphanage, or at least I think it's the end of the orphanage. I played up until you meet the side character in the orphanage. I don't even know what the guy's name was. He was an okay character. And this guy, near the end of this area, I played up until he burns alive. That's where I stopped playing. You read something and you hear somebody burning, right? You go into this room, this guy's burning alive, and the main character does not do anything to try to fucking save him. It's like, fuck this main character. I know maybe, I don't know if there was a fire extinguisher nearby, but the main character didn't even try to help the guy. It's like, you fucking asshole, fuck you. He should fucking die, not the guy that wanted chocolate milk. Like, fuck, man. That was some bullshit, you know? I had to replay that scene more than once because one of the issues I did face sometimes with Silent Hill games in general. This is an issue with any game. This isn't just Silent Hill. Sometimes you go to an area that advances the story and you can't go back. It's one of those things. But still, Walter's a fucking dick because he didn't try to save the guy. If there's not a fire extinguisher, at least say, "Hey, man, stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll." Or take your clothes off and throw it at him, or do something to save him. Don't just stand there and have him burn, for fuck's sake. Even James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2 had morals, despite the thing they reveal in the story. It's fucked up. Unless this somehow plays into the story where maybe they say Walter did this and he's the one that burned him, because I kind of got that vibe, I guess, from what happened after that, but still, he was a fucking asshole for how that happened. Like, fuck him. And then other characters I talk about, a lot of the characters in this game are pretty weak. The female character you meet for a bit, she's just like another Maria, sex appeal, woman type character that you meet, and she follows you around and says, "This is my dream." You have a few scenes with her, and she dies. Has some cool music when she dies, but I didn't really give a shit about her. It was just like Maria all over again. And then the little kid you meet briefly doesn't really say anything, so there's not much to say about him. I would say the only character I could give any credency for that's even halfway decent is the chocolate milk dude. I don't even know his name, but the guy who burns alive they have to give chocolate milk for, he's the only character I could say was even halfway decent, I guess. And but a lot of the characters are pretty weak, especially the main character. The story to me is not that interesting so far. Now, I could be wrong on this, but I think James Sunderland's in this game because you read something in the apartment that says something about Sunderland or some shit like that. And there's a guy that comes by to try to open your door, and it looks like James Sunderland. So that's a pretty cool thing about the game. And like the whole game, or a bunch of parts of the game and the story is that you're this guy that's like stuck in this room and you can't get out, but there's this hole in the bathroom you constantly go through to go to different areas, but you still can't get out of this hole or this room. And there's this other character, I think her name is Cynthia. You see her here and there, and yeah, apparently she's somebody you escort in the game, which I haven't got to that yet. I mean, I became a pretty damn good professional at Dead Rising 1 saving survivors, so I might be able to handle this one, but we'll have to see when it gets to that. What else could I criticize in the game that I don't like? The inventory is kind of strange because it's kind of just on the fly. I don't know if there's like a amount of items you can and can't carry. I'm not really sure about that. Some other negatives, I mean, this game don't really seem that challenging so far. Like I said, you can exploit the apartment and just heal infinitely. So why would I ever need to use a healing item? So, and then another thing I want to talk about is another negative. the environments in this game are a step down from the previous ones because the entire first area you're in is fucking boring and it's fucking dull. You're in this subway area for the big part of the game at the beginning. That area was boring as shit to me. It was dull. I just didn't think it was that interesting. I thought the subway and what was it, Silent Hill 3? That was more interesting. This subway was boring as fuck. It just, every area I went to, that whole environment, it just felt dull. Like it wasn't interesting to me. So that's another problem with the game. The environment to me takes a step down compared to previous games. Even the second area, like the factory area, was a little bit dull, but then other parts of the second area were kind of cool. So the second area is better, at least in the first area, but I can tell the environment's definitely taken a step down. So that's another issue with the game. And hopefully some of the areas later on in the game that I play get better, but I don't know, with the issues I've already talked about and some of the positives, I could see this game definitely being my least favorite because it is my least favorite so far. And I can see why this game gets the reception it does get. Another thing about the game that bothers me, I don't know if it's just me, but I think it's kind of stupid that in the game there's two different windows in the apartment that you can look through. And you can look out and you can see all these people doing shit in the windows and stuff. And the reason I don't like that is because I understand, like, okay, if it's a zombie game or if it's a game where apocalypse is about to happen, I get showing a town and showing people just living their life before shit hits the fan. But my problem with this thing is that you get to look at these people doing their everyday life, and it kind of, to me, it takes me out of the experience a bit. It's like we're supposed to be in this survival horror game, this isolated game, and yet we can constantly go through this window and just see people living their everyday lives through the window and walking. Like, what kind of shit is this? Like, it just doesn't fit. And the camera angles in this game in Silent Hill 4 are a mess at times. Worse than the other games, even to the extent of Silent Hill 1 and the PS1. Because here's something that annoys me about the camera angle sometimes. You'll go in certain areas, I notice bathrooms, this happens a lot, where the camera like goes top down view and it's just kind of messy. It's like I didn't have this problem in Silent Hill 3 or 2 or 1 or Origins. Technically Origins came out after 4, but still it's like this is bad camera angles because most of the games like over the shoulder kind of fix camera angles, but the camera is just clunky in the bathroom area. And this was never really a problem with the series to this bad level. It just feels kind of shaky with how it's just always top down view and it's just very wobbly in how the characters shake. It's just a mess in my opinion. Same thing happens in some other areas. It's just a mess. I dislike that as well. So I think the camera angle in that aspect can also be a problem and also another negative to add to the game Silent Hill 4 as well. And last but not least, I think the last thing I'll say about Silent Hill 4, this just doesn't feel like a Silent Hill game really. It doesn't. It doesn't feel like I'm playing a Silent Hill game. It feels off for a Silent Hill game. And you know, I mean, like I said, the gameplay is fun. I like the health bar aspect, but so far, my first impressions of the game is while there's some positives, there's definitely a lot more negatives. And this is easily my least favorite one so far. The best thing about the game, I mean, the gameplay is still fun somewhat, at least, but I think what holds this game back is the characters being pretty weak, the story being pretty weak, the first person camera crap in the apartment, which feels very sluggish at times, having to go back to the apartment every time a new hole opens up, where you have to re examine everything, the stupid unkillable enemies that are annoying as shit, and what else? The just a lot of this game just lacks. It really does. It's like a lot of the Silent Hill games I played up to this point were solid, but this one is just disappointing, man. I really hope the other ones are better than this. I hope Downpour and Homecoming, I hope at least they're 5%, even 1% better than this one. Like, even if those games aren't better than the fucking first three in Origins, I hope they're at least better than this shit. And hopefully they're at least fun and have some more positives about it. Because this game so far, man, what a letdown this was. So, yeah, there's not really much else I can think of saying in this video. My first impressions for Silent Hill 4 The Room. I think that I don't know. That's what I think so far of this game. Let me know what you think of this game in the comments. Keep it spoiler free because I haven't beat it yet, but this is my first impressions. of what I think of the game so far. And there's also notes in the game you read, and there's things you examine and stuff, and things like that. And there's like items you pick up. So far, it seems like there's no puzzles in the game. By the way, like there's no puzzles in the game so far, which is crazy to me. It's like a Silent Hill game with no puzzles. What the fuck, you know? But that's it for my video. My first impressions for Silent Hill 4: The Room. Peace out.